My name is Durant Sumoni. I'm a senior lecturer here at the Business School in Innovation Studies. So as we know, innovation is at the heart of a thriving economy. And when we talk about innovation in the 21st century, we're thinking knowledge, we're thinking technology, and applying it to something that makes sense. So there's something we talk about in our program we call the Innovation Ambition Matrix. So in other words, yes, you have to have a great idea, but it's really about executing those ideas. But your ability to execute those ideas depends on the level of ambition, or the level of impact that you would like to have with respect to the part of the world you'd like to change. So it gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome today Fred Swaniker. Fred founded the African Leadership Group, which is an ecosystem of organizations that aims to transform Africa by identifying, developing, and connecting 3 million game-changing leaders in Africa by 2060. One of these organizations is the African Leadership University, which is pioneering a fresh approach to higher education and leadership development. Fred was born in Ghana, but has lived and worked in about 10 African countries, which makes him a hybrid, like many of us are. He was recognized by the US President Barack Obama in 2010 and again in 2013 for his work in developing Africa's future leaders. He's also been recognized as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum, by Forbes magazine as one of the top 10 young power men in Africa, and by Echoing Green as one of the 15 best emerging social entrepreneurs in the world.
The purpose of my talk today is going to be about thinking differently about higher education in Africa. Just a couple of facts to put on the table. Percentage of students who are in the age that they should be going to universities or for any kind of tertiary education. In Africa, it's about 8%. This compares to China, it's about 30%, and India is about 26%. And in the West, we're looking at 60 to 70%. There are 600 million young people in Africa between the age of 16 and 24. By 2040, Africa will have the largest workforce in the world. We'll have 1.1 billion people that will be in the working age population. This will be bigger than China, bigger than India. And that's not very far from now. About 15 years ago, I started something called the African Leadership Academy, which is here in Johannesburg, which is a 2-year pre-university program that brings together young people from every country in Africa. And we prepare them with leadership skills and entrepreneurship skills, and then we help them get access to universities around the world. And we found that 80% of them were leaving Africa to go and study in the US. So it bothered me as an African that we didn't have our own universities, or enough universities that we could send them to. So I said, if we set a target that in 15 years, we're going to reach India's level of tertiary enrollment. There are 1.7 million students who graduate from university in Nigeria, and the existing universities can only take 400,000 of them. So what do you do with the rest? There's 20 to 30 million students graduating from high schools across Africa, and universities can only take 22 million. So we are sitting on a time bomb unless we, I think, create a lot more capacity. To catch up just to India, we would need to build 215 universities every single year, the size of Harvard, to catch up to India in 15 years across Africa. Initially when I looked at this, I said, there's no way we can do this thing. Because to build a university requires hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. And I was like, you know what? This is a problem that I can't solve in my lifetime. So I will let someone else solve this problem. Then I realized I've been thinking about this problem of higher education the wrong way. We need to build it around an abundant resource, not a scarce resource. And the abundant resource are brilliant young people, which we have many of them in Africa. So if you shift the learning from a university that is built around a scarce resource of professors to an abundant resource of students, where the center of the learning is the student themselves, not the professor, now you have removed the bottleneck to scale. And now you can actually build a network of universities quickly at the scale and pace that we need to be able to actually leapfrog and quickly in a generation develop this large number of people with skills. And that's what led us to then this journey, saying let's see if we can actually build this, a different type of university. Right? Before you have a unimodal way of learning, information going from a professor to a student. You can now have a multimodal way of learning, where it's now the student can learn by themselves, so you can curate all the world's best professors online. Then the student can learn by themselves, they can learn at their own pace. When you get to a point where you don't understand, you just pause and rewind. You can't do that in a live class with a professor. You can take assessments immediately and get feedback on what you're understanding and what you don't. Massive opportunity to learn from each other. So we designed a learning model, therefore, that where we have a 4-stage learning model. The first stage is we put students together in a room and we give them an ambiguous problem that they must solve. We call this the discovery phase. The second phase of the learning model, we then have them do self-directed learning, where now we give you a set of tools, right? Lectures from professors, TED Talks, excerpts from textbooks. Then the third phase of the learning model is peer-to-peer, where you now come together with your peers and you must teach each other. And then the fourth phase of the learning model is when you finally go to class. So in our university, you only go to class, say, 1/3 as often as in a traditional university. The role is not to teach you. So one of the things we say is we ban lectures. The role is to now help you to apply what you've learned by yourself or from your peers to solve a real world problem. So what we're finding is that the levels of enjoyment of our students is phenomenal. How many of you are doing a job that is exactly what you studied in college? So whenever I ask this question when I give a talk, the answer is never more than 10%. The world is changing so fast that what you learn very quickly becomes outdated. So what we believe is that the purpose of a university needs to change from what I call just-in-case education, where you learn a lot of facts and figures, just in case you ever need to use it, and most of the time you never do, to what I call just-in-time education, where the purpose of the university shifts from teaching you facts and figures to learning how to learn, so that you can keep reinventing yourself as the world changes. And we mapped out 7 skills that we call the 7 meta skills of the 21st century. These are: how do you lead yourself? How do you lead others? The third skill is critical thinking. Skill number 4 is analytical reasoning. How do you analyze data and use it to make good decisions, right? Especially in this world, it's becoming much more a world of data. These are the skills that you need in the 21st century to really be able to continuously reinvent yourself, so that you can learn how, and then applying on top of that the ability to learn by yourself, so that when the world changes and when you learn, when you change yourself, you can actually get the knowledge, the facts and the figures that you need just in time to do what you need to do. When we looked at the world's problems that need to be solved, I wanted to build this university as a university with a purpose, right? To solve the continent's big problems. We said actually the schools that we're going to create in this university are going to be around what we call the 7 grand challenges that Africa has to address over the next 50 years, and the 7 great opportunities. The challenges are things that if we don't solve, we're really doomed as a continent, in fact as a world. So challenge number 1 is urbanization. There are 800 million people who are moving to cities in Africa over the next 40 years. Another big challenge is healthcare, right? Education, challenge number 3. Infrastructure, challenge number 4. Governance, right? How do we think about job creation? How are we going to create jobs for these 1 billion people? And then finally, climate change. These are big, big challenges that Africa is facing. The opportunities are things which we've identified as low-hanging fruit. This is where we have been blessed as a continent. We have an unusual competitive advantage, but we haven't captured them yet. So we see these 7 opportunities as agriculture. We spend about $35 billion a year importing food into Africa that we actually have all the right conditions to grow. Another big opportunity is how do we conserve our wildlife? We're blessed with this phenomenal resource, which we should be using as a vehicle for actual economic development. But we are poaching our animals and not thinking about how to actually create a sustainable industry that gives value to the human beings, but also saves animals and actually conserves this asset. It's part of our natural endowment of assets. Right? The third opportunity we see is how we manage our natural resources, the non-renewable things like oil and gas, and diamonds and gold, which we've also been blessed with, right? We've been squandering that and not using it for development properly. Fourth opportunity we see is in tourism, right? We have some of the most beautiful countries in Africa, in the world, but you go to most countries in Africa and there's just no infrastructure. Another opportunity we see is in the empowerment of women, right? 50% of our population is not getting the same opportunities as the other 50%. And until we can actually empower women, we're not going to be able to fully develop our continent. And entertainment in general is one of the US's largest exports, right? But here in Africa, we look down upon people who are artists. Of course, this is not going to be the only solution, but what we are saying is we have to think differently. And we need more systems like this if we're going to make a dent in this massive, big challenge of the youth in Africa and the skills that we need to actually develop ourselves in the 21st century.
I think ultimately all education has a very huge political decision-making policy component to it. Where do governments feature in your plans for expansion?
We have chosen to start in 2 countries which have more innovative governments. Right? That's why we started in Mauritius and that's why we started in Rwanda. To get accreditation for a university in South Africa takes years, right? And I think, from what I understand, you're not even allowed to use the word university. I think only state institutions are allowed to call themselves this, right? You have to call yourself an institute or school or whatever, right? So that's the situation that you find. And then, if you look at Ghana, for example, there's a university. How many of you have heard of Ashesi University? You've heard of it? Yeah. Fantastic university, right? Started by a Ghanaian entrepreneur. He went to college in the States, Swarthmore, and then he worked at Microsoft, made millions, and came back and opened this university. This university has the best track record of getting its graduates jobs. Employers rave about the students who are coming there. They're open-minded, they're innovative, they're whatever. I've hired a few of them. Phenomenal products that they're coming out of this university. They've been going for 15 years. They still are not allowed to call themselves a university. The Ghana National Accreditation Board, and so because of that, their degrees have to be awarded by a state university called University of Cape Coast. So last year, for example, they were trying to finalize the date for graduation. They had to change it 4 times because the vice chancellor of the University of Cape Coast kept changing when he would come for the graduation. So the problem we have, we're sitting with this large problem of a billion jobs that we need to create, and governments are doing this kind of stuff, right? So this is the problem of leadership that we have, and that is that we are our own worst enemy. There are great solutions and innovations that are out there, and we are in the way. So we've chosen to go to the countries which have innovative governments that can see and think differently, which is why we went to Rwanda, because the government is very visionary, right? And that's why we also went to Mauritius. And then what we're saying is, I'm not going to any other country until the governments come to see what we've done in Mauritius and Rwanda. And then I say, if you want this in your country, then this is our list of things that we need.
Yeah.
Right? And then we'll come to your country. But we need to put aside ego here, guys. This is a big problem we have as a continent. And let's stop fighting and say, this is the way we've done things. We can't do things the same way, the status quo, and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. So we need different radical new ways, and let's test new things and show new ways, and then let the results prove themselves and not be caught in our egos. And governments need to do the same thing. Otherwise, they're sitting on a time bomb. They need to realize that innovations like AOU is what will actually keep them in power. Otherwise, the youth are going to be uprising against them. There are several experiences that I had growing up that I think influenced the work that I do. Right? So for me, a lot of it has really been a search for purpose, to try to understand what role can I play, and what role should I be playing in Africa. And then when I started my career with McKinsey, I also was the first one to go and do work with them across Africa. I went to Ghana, I went to Nigeria, I went to Tanzania. At the time, most South Africans didn't want to go north of the Limpopo. And so that exposed me a lot and got me very passionate about Africa. It also made me very proud of being an African.